So thank you so much, everyone, for being here right now. We have Dr. Trust Lin joining us from Singapore. He's the director of Taiwan Tourism Board. And we have Mr. Ramsumesh Menon joining us from Bahrain. Ramsumesh Menon from Go Gusaibi Travel. We have Ms. Tricia Warwick joining us from Visit Britain, who is the MEA director. So she's Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. I'm right there, right?
Correct. Based in Dubai.
Mr. Nasir Jamal Khan, who's the CEO of Al Nabuda Travel and Tourism, and he's joined us from Dubai. And we have Mr. Muzammil Hussain, who is the CEO of, who's the head of consumer travel at Sira Group. There is Matthias, I don't see him right now, but Matthias Albrecht, who is the director of GCC Switzerland Tourism. And great, thank you so much, all of you for joining. It's an honor to have you here. And, so as we're not going to, this roundtable is called COVID-19, but we're not going to focus on the gloom and doom and the negative bits, because I think the media feeds us all of that anyway. We're going to really focus on what next. So I think the best way to focus on what next would be to start with what was happening before. Should we start with Tricia, maybe?
As I said before, just before we came on air, I love Dr. Trust Lin's background because he's got his advertising and also Sira. I feel really behind, and TTN. So I've got my Union Jack.
Well done.
Okay. Those are my tissues from the United Kingdom because it's the only branding I've got in my house. So good morning, firstly, or good afternoon to everybody, and thank you so much, TTN, for organising this. It's one of a few panel kind of webinar events that I've been taking part in, and I'm finding it extremely useful and interesting to hear the other views online. So thank you for organising it. So Britain, look, before our unfortunate situation regarding COVID, I'm delighted to say that the Gulf market is the #2 market for us after the US in terms of value. So, you know, the US has all the volume coming in, but the Gulf market really is incredibly strong. And the two markets inside there that top the GCC, if you like, I don't think there's any surprise, are KSA, Saudi, and the UAE. Up to almost, wow, a growth of 12% for the UAE, bit slower from Saudi, but on its way up. So, and what we were doing, of course, is having a great success in upping our numbers year on year into London, and also trying to encourage people to go a little bit outside London. But we have a campaign that's been working effectively across all digital channels. But at the moment, life has changed, and you know, we're pausing a lot of our activity, yes, sensitively, but also, you know, financially, it doesn't make much sense either to be investing in the market at this moment. And I think the biggest challenge we're trying to all juggle in the industry is, you know, which stage of recovery we're going to be in and when, which markets, what time, how much. And that's like, you know, trying to get a crystal ball out, to be honest. But our organisation, for example, I'm on calls every day with our headquarters in London, and we're kind of an arm's-length body, so we're dialed into government and the Cabinet Office. And, you know, the dial moves every day in different directions as to what we think may be happening next. So, interesting times.
From the destination's perspective, if you could tell us where Taiwan was before and where it is now.
Well, actually, last year we had around 11, nearly 12 million international visitors to Taiwan, and about 7% growth compared to year 2018. However, in last March, we dropped 92% international arrivals due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But good news for Taiwan is our government take so-called think ahead, do ahead strategy. So we are the first country to ban the international travel from Taiwan and China, between Taiwan and China. And so far until today, we have only 440 confirmed cases, 6 deaths, And for the past 25 days, we don't have any new case within our community. But still, we got a social distance requirement. But due to the social distance requirement, it do harms our domestic travel.
Dr. Khan, can I ask you where Al Nabuda Travel and Tourism was before the disaster hit, and where were you before at that point?
So it was a great start, honestly. And the year was full of excitement. We were all excited. And then, of course, again, we all know where we stand at the moment. And there's nothing to hide about it. That there is zero inbound and outbound flights, and everything is related to the flight operations. Though we have the repatriation flights, and this is not, we don't consider this as a money-making business. Actually, we are in the business for the last 60 years, and we have always been successful in making profits out of it. This is about time to give back to the society. So what we are doing now, we are just helping the needy people. We are just helping the people who don't know how to get the seats, how to get the flights, who to give the priority. The embassies are involved, the governments are involved. So what we are doing is we are supporting the people and without charging any fees. And we are making sure that we make sure the fares that they are paying, they are as less as possible. So this is what is keeping us busy at the moment. However, at the same, and otherwise there is no business, there is no income, nothing. But on the other hand, if I may say, business-wise, the cargo business is doing very, very well. The cargo business, the cargo tonnage uplift has been increased by almost 50%, in some cases up to 100% as well. So yes, that department or that wing of business that we have is doing extremely well at the moment. And our teams are very, very busy, and that helps us maintain some kind of income so that we can justify keeping the rest of the staff who are unfortunately not their fault, but they do not have any jobs to do. We don't want to leave them alone. We have all kept them in the country. As you know, UAE, most of the staff are expats. In fact, majority of them, yes. But we need to keep them in town, and they need some support to meet their expenses. So we're doing our best to support them. And definitely, we are very, very hopeful, because what we see here in UAE, and I'm sure it's happening all over the world in all the countries. I will talk about UAE at the moment, and the arrangements that the government has made to control the COVID and to support the people who are not well is amazing. It's amazing. Very, very in detail procedures are in place. And people who are residents here or the locals here, they are all cooperating with that. So the end result is that we are hoping that we hope the same for the whole world, that it all comes to all or start and we move forward to go back to normal. However, we are very hopeful that in UAE, we are moving very fast towards controlling the problem here. What we are focusing at the same time, now there is a relaxation here. The curfew is lesser hours now, so people can move out. There are hotels opened for some business. So we will be supporting and pushing the domestic movements within UAE at the moment.
We will get to that shortly. And let's have Mr. Muzammil from Sira Group tell us where they were. Such an exciting, if I may say, group. So many things happening with them. Can you just tell us what was happening before?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone, and thank you for putting this together. So if we talk about Sierra Group in the last year, we've been going through a dramatic transformation program, exciting one, rebranding our organization and company. And I believe that we saw a very good start to the year. So we were continuing our journey across consumer travel, which is the consumer-facing businesses that I lead, of a brand in Saudi called Al Musafir, and in UAE we have a brand called Tajawuz. And we saw a really exciting growth in January, February, over 200% growth in the first part of the first 2 months of the year. We partnered very well with tourism boards like Visit Britain and Switzerland. Great success. We were continuing our omni-channel journey, rolling out our retail outlets, started launching them, opening in the airports and across the kingdom. Then COVID happened. What we've done is basically, as the rest have said, things have basically come to a standstill. We're focusing on three main areas. One is obviously serving the customers currently that are stranded or have cancellation amendments that needed. That's been a big focus in focusing our team on that. But secondly, we've also looked internally and identified where we want to continue our investments into digital and technology to define our future roadmaps based on the new normal and how things will go. So really improving the ability for customers to cancel, provide them more health and safety information about destinations, about hotels. And we're really investing in that. And it's still too early to say, when things will come back. I think it's all of us are on this together. We do see initial signs of some interest in people starting to search for things like domestic, as was mentioned earlier. But it's still a bit early to come out. But we're hopeful that as an industry we can come out of this stronger. With learning a lot from the past, but collaborating more closely and helping to set the standards for the new travel.
Great, thank you for that, Mr. Muzammil. Sorry, Mr. Menon, it took so long to get to you. Could you tell us where GoGoSaibi was? What were the exciting things you were doing before disaster hit?
Rashid, thank you, and Kim for inviting me to this TTN roundtable. It's been a pleasure to be talking to all of you, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of insight and a lot of new ways of looking at things coming forward after this. Coming back to GoGoSaibi Travel, we be part of in the islet, So predominantly there has been corporate travel, there's been outbound leisure travel, and incoming travel. So predominantly these have been the three verticals that we have been having. Out of which the corporate travel was actually getting a lot of traction towards the end of last year, and again during the beginning of the year, it was quite active actually. And interestingly, we did see a lot of outbound traffic as well. A lot of bookings were done as far as April, May, June, up to August, September. There were a lot of forward bookings, and it was going very well actually. And other than for us, the outbound traffic, the first outbound traffic, toward the destination is Dubai. And then other than that, I think that if you look at Europe, the largest destination is obviously United Kingdom. So and then part of Central Europe, especially that has been the areas which has really got a lot of traction. However, you're talking about inbound. We did a good season. We also managed cruise shore excursions in Bahrain. So we did some good growth in terms of the passenger footfalls. But then towards the end of March, and we did see the cancellations happening one after the other. So the cruise calls have been pulled off, and that was a very big hit for us. But until then, I think we had some good growth in terms of the holidays growth. But however, having said that, we did some kind of what we call as reevaluation of how we want to do our business going forward. They say that, there's a famous saying by Benjamin Franklin, one of the founders of the United States: out of adversity comes opportunity. So like my other panelists who did say that, this is a great time to really re-evaluate what's the opportunity lying at the end of the tunnel, because as of now, we really do not have an idea about when this business is going to restart, when those passengers are going to fly, when they are going to be traveling. So we do not really know. But then, yes, that's definitely going to happen. That's the positive part of it, the hope. But then this is the time to really kind of get our systems, get our products, get our, especially last year we embarked upon digital transformation of our business processes. So many of those initiatives are taking and are going live. And this is a great opportunity to put them all together, try them all, put them to rigorous testing. And then, we are trying to see how best we could, embrace this challenge that is coming up and be prepared for what's coming through in the few months' time from now. So, yeah, let's hope that things come through. And it's definitely, we are all in it, fighting together. But having said, I definitely want to mention and register a fact that the government of Bahrain, the kingdom, has been really putting a lot of efforts in trying to contain the spread. And then it's been a commendable effort by the health workers and everybody to restrict the number of deaths to just about 8, which is a fantastic effort. And this gives us a lot of assurance and belief that we are all in the safe hands of our administration, and in fact the people are also really supporting this.
Yes, great, thank you. What would you like to go into? What Travel 2.0 is going to look like? Are people going to have different expectations, or are we just falling into a big thing when it's not?
Look, you're right. It's going to be what the phrase that's being bandied around internationally is the new norm. What's the new normal going to look like? And I think this is going to have a significant, permanent change to the way we do things going forward. And I think we're all very conscious of that. The whole thing in Britain, for example, we're looking at, when we do come back, what is going to be required? And things like social distancing play a big part when you're thinking about attractions, restaurants, airlines, literally the whole PPE discussion about masks and gloves and sanitization and hygiene. And I was talking to one of my, I've been in Dubai about 19 years now, but previous incarnations was working for Jumeirah Hotel Group and Viceroy and Atlantis, one and only. So, I've been in the region a while and was asking some of the hoteliers, what are the ask? And a pal of mine, Peter Anderson from the Dorchester collection, we were talking about what his customers are asking for. And it was really interesting. They're looking to minimize human contact. So everything's got to be as automated as possible to avoid catching infection. So, anything that can be contactless, whether that's the check-in process or whatever. So I think the luxury hotel chains are all going to start looking at this kind of stuff, and the big chains, Marriott, the Hiltons, all of them. I think highly visible teams, human signposts that you can ask questions of, but that are doing stuff as well, and they're sanitizing areas so that people feel safe, that things are clean and safe for them to use. Whether that's at Madame Tussauds if you're going into an attraction, going up the London Eye, or checking into a hotel in the UK. A lot of the high level, the high income, high net worth families in the Gulf as well are doing regular testing of themselves. So they're expecting that testing's being done as well. By the people that they are trusting with their stay, with their transportation, with their meals, their restaurants. And I think room service has also been really, really popular in the Gulf. I think room service menus are going to go sky high. So I think we're going to need a lot more options on the menus. And I think that whole private dining in the room will be appealing to people. But look, in London, we're focused very much on the social distancing, and whether that's the parks like Hyde Park, how are we going to navigate people around there? How are we going to ensure we don't overcrowd places so that you still have a lovely experience, but you're not nervous? So during the time when we're not able to welcome people, we're spending our time getting ready. And I think one of the, in that getting ready phase, there's all the things I mentioned here. That's just hospitality, attractions, bed and breakfast. You could apply any of these things I mentioned to most things in Britain that people want to go and stay, in most places in the world that people want to go and stay. I think the thing we're all watching is the airlines, because, as we all realize, the only way in out of Dubai, there's very few places you can go without getting on a plane out of the Gulf. So it's really watching and waiting for the airlines, and that will be the trickle for us on what comes first. But I think most countries realize domestic travel will come first, within our own boundaries and with our own countries. And I think people will be a little bit circumspect before they, start looking further afield. What is starting to happen, which I think is wonderful, is that destinations were starting to talk as one across the industry. The different tourist boards, whether that's the guys on board today or, Italy, Spain, France, we've been talking to as well. We're all sharing information and ideas, and we're actually talking about, missions together and sales pitches together to get people traveling again and back to Europe. Or back to Asia. I think that's the solidarity that's coming out of this phase is heartwarming.
So let's just follow the same trail. And so Matthias, what's the news from Switzerland?
I mean, let's be clear here. Nobody likes social distancing, and I think it's a horrible thing. It's a cruel thing. And I think especially not people in the travel industry. We like to meet each other in person. We like to hug each other and to be together, and also not people traveling. I think people who travel, they normally like to meet other people and not to distance each other from others. So I think, social distancing is hopefully not the future, but it will be the very close future. It will be probably necessary. And I think here, I agree with Tricia. I think, I think we have to organize it well and see that we make the places a bit less crowded. And I also think that the less crowded places will be and that's the chance, what we heard before. I mean, they will be probably more in demand now than the overcrowded places and the monuments which everyone anyway visits. I think the hidden gems are maybe now more in demand than before. And I think that's something which we'll see in future. But I also believe not everything will change. I think number one reason why people travel to Switzerland is nature, and this will remain the same. People want to travel because they like the fresh air, they like the greenery, they like the crystal clear water, the sugar-coated mountains. That's why people travel to Switzerland. And I think this will not change. I mean, not everything will change.
Oh, that's great to know. That's heartening. Dr. Lin.
Yeah. Right now, as I just mentioned, we are focusing on training and subsidizing to help the travel agents and tour guides to survive during this pandemic. But we are thinking more is about the future, how to increase more tourists or how to increase our domestic travel. So right now, because people, they are still suspicious. Even now we have 25 days, no new cases no new community case, but people are still kind of suspicious. So we will have invite our number one stage is training. So number two, we'll ask those 300,000 travel industry employees to join the van trip, to go travel around Taiwan to every city, new city, to experience a new product. And then the second wave will be the domestic travel can resume. And also for the international, we are thinking about the theme to attract them. We no more promoting the gourmet food, because right now people might scary, like Tricia mentioned, that we like private dining, room service. So we are promoting like tourism for healing. We promoting that mountain tour for year 2020. And next year will be mountain tour. And next year will be the bicycle tour. So more outdoor, so people can go outdoor and mountain area, ride the bicycle without a mask, and feel relaxed. They feel healing. That's our new focus.
Mr. Khan, you're up next. What do you think Travel 2.0 is going to be different like? What kind of destinations would people be going to, if I may ask?
See, we all need to understand that definitely the structure of travel will change. It won't be as traditional or as it was till date or till the COVID started. There will be definitely change. The demand, the requirements of people, the perception of people. Some people are excited to travel. Some people are ready to travel. Some people are scared to travel. So destinations that we are talking about, I think when things become a bit normal, definitely there is no doubt about UK is an evergreen destination. People will never stop going there. So is Switzerland. Taiwan has picked up a lot in the last few years. They have done extremely well, especially with the medical travel, medical tourism to Taiwan. I've been to Taiwan myself, and I see why people are actually always planning to go to Taiwan. Now, besides that, what I see, the trends that we see and the vibes that we get from the market, there's a new destination coming up. It's not an unknown destination, of course, that is Ireland. So a lot of people are looking into going to Ireland as a destination. Ireland has also picked up very well in the past couple of years, and they will be doing better even in the coming years. Now, people, as I hear the other panelists, you know, social distancing is one thing, the safety and security is another thing. People will look for places where they feel safe and sound, where it is less crowded, definitely. So all those destinations, like the doctor just mentioned, the mountain tours and bicycle tours. So we talk about all those destinations where people have the beach access, the beach resorts. I think these are the places definitely will pick up. Recently, Philippines has picked up a lot with a lot of beach holidays. There are new destinations coming up. So all those destinations where people will feel safe and sound, where they feel the infrastructure is good, where, if I may say, there has been less COVID cases, there has been a better control. The countries which came up with the vaccine maybe, and it's safe to go. Definitely people will like to go. The other thing is now that there was a major movement from all over the world, and especially from GCC countries to Saudi Arabia, into Saudi Arabia. That's a religious travel, which is Umrah and Hajj and Umrah travel, which is now on hold at the moment. I believe that when that starts again, there will be a lot of challenges there, and there will be a lot of decrease in that as well, because again, what we know inside the mosque, inside the harams, there are going to be a social distancing implementations. So, but yet people are definitely going to go there. People will prefer mostly to go to short haul destinations, nearby destinations to begin with, till they develop their confidence. Because as of now, as you know, people will have less spending powers, because people have not been earning or not earning the same amount of monies. People are actually not earning as some of them. So the spending power is down. Business travel will be down, definitely. Now you can see we are doing this conference on Zoom as well. This is becoming very famous and trendy. So the destinations, like, as I said, definitely in Europe, you see the UK, Switzerland, has always been one of the top destinations, but it did not rank up into top 10 destinations from GCC recently because the other destinations have taken over. But definitely Taiwan definitely is a fantastic destination as well to go. I think that you have the right people here to hear, and they can share more about their destinations. To begin with, as I said, destinations who will offer safety and security more than anything else. Destinations who will offer social distancing. Destination who will be less crowded. Destinations who will give economical packages. You know, I think now it's time now that whether it is an airline or it is a tour operator or a hotel, they really need to make attractive packages and offers to the clients, including the other precautions that we have discussed, so that people have the confidence and the capacity and energy to travel.
Great.
So those are the destinations, though, that will be famous.
Mr. Muzammil, it sounds like it's becoming more and more difficult from what Mr. Khan said. Is it possible to make such a package?
Look, I think I agree with the comments made by the panelists here, but I think the most important thing, I think, is it requires also the industry and the governments to come up with the right regulations. People like us we cannot generate travel demand and sell it if there's not clear rules about it. What we believe, or what our research is telling us, is likely they will be aligned with the earlier panelists. So domestic will be important. Short haul destinations, probably the safer destinations like the islands close by that you can get to very easily from this region. Non-stop flights. People used to always do layovers. They stop in Dubai for a few nights, or stop in Abu Dhabi, or stop in Turkey, and then go on to another. Now this is not going to, given the why stop, take an extra risk, more cleaning, more screening, more health checks. Likely people will take non-stop, shorter routes, non-stop. But more importantly than that, I think it's about once there are bilateral arrangements where countries will open up. So you see now Australia and New Zealand might have a corridor where they start flying to each other. This is the only way we can really, people will not travel unless there's comfort and they know there's some security about when they can come home. It's unlikely people will leave their house. So I don't know if you guys know from China, I believe China allowed people to go international visits, but when they come back, they have to spend 14 days in a quarantine. It's unlikely people will take 14 days back when they to go on a leisure trip, unless there's some emergency or some very critical need. So how do we enable people to travel with the comfort in the mind of the safety in the destination and the flight, but also that they'll be able to get back home? Everybody here on this panel, probably listening, knows someone who's stuck somewhere. They don't want to be in that situation. So that's really important. So understanding the regulations and making sure that's clear. It's making sure the destinations are safe. And part of our job, and we work, we've already started some work with some of the tourism boards, is to understand and empower our knowledge for our customers and for our, let's say, travel advisors who are educating the customers about the sales. What's the situation in their country? And we have to create a way that we can always get new information. So, for example, if I'm going to London, are certain social distancing rules, certain theme parks or certain places that people typically go to are no longer open, or there's no kids allowed. It changes. This information is very important for people to know. So I think as that whole ecosystem comes together, initially we'll see this close by, domestic. So a lot of Saudis typically would have gone to Dubai, Bahrain, or London. They probably can't or won't this summer, but maybe they can travel around Saudi Arabia, the parts they've never seen in Saudi Arabia before. So that's the stuff that we're seeing, at least to get people want to leave their homes and explore, but is within some comfort level.
And you have that excellent Saudi Arabia's opened up, and that amazing video of Saudi tourism, isn't it? Which shows all the
a lot of unknown sites and untapped locations. I think the government is working a lot to continue to build that infrastructure. But even now, I think there's an opportunity for the locals to explore it as well.
Great. Mr. Menon, yes, how is it going to pan out for Bahrain and for Gogo Sebi?
Good question. Yeah, I would like to echo a couple of points mentioned earlier by some of the panelists, especially Tricia. wherein the governments and the other entities coming together to really enhance the feel-good factor, about these destinations, because that is pretty, very important. And like what Muzammil had just mentioned earlier, I think, predominantly for Bahrain, I think it's important that direct flights or destinations which are connected directly are definitely going to be one of those initial destinations which they will look into. Having said that, Gulf Air was planning to launch a few boutique destinations this July and August with some new aircrafts, and so these destinations they're purely for leisure. These were leisure destinations both in Europe and in Asia as well. But what is important is the confidence in reaching out, especially places like Italy, Greece, and these are the new destinations which were listed out. And Malaysia was Kuala Lumpur was another new destination which was charted out. Predominantly, if you look at the historically, Bahrain has seen a lot of traffic to the Gulf countries, especially the UAE and Oman. And in fact, we have more traffic coming from Saudi to Bahrain rather than from Bahrain to Saudi. So, however, with these new destinations opening up in Saudi, I would say that, in fact, we've seen recently, there's been an increase in terms of what we call as active tourism. That means physically they want to be active. So these are mostly by solo travelers, or travelers that from corporates. They just get together, get onto a short holiday, just a 2 night 3 days or 3 night 4 days, whatever. So just get around to the closest place, do some kind of an active something like a mountain biking or a trekking or a hiking, or do something to keep them active. So interestingly, what initiatives taken by Taiwan as a destination is quite interesting. But unfortunately, for us to really to push this as a destination, we do not have a direct flight. We still have to go via Dubai, or we will have to route them via Bangkok, because the Bangkok is another destination served by Gulf Air. So likewise, we have these kind of challenges. And talking about the current trends in social distancing, this becomes a bit of a dampener at this point of time. And even though we say, like what Matthias did mention, that this social distancing norms are going to be for a short future, but excuse me, but what we are looking at is how this whole thing is going to be packaged in terms of the cost perspective. Because wearing an inbound as a DMC, we have challenges in terms of, to contain the cost of the ground arrangements. In terms of, say, for example, to give you a good example is that, as if you're talking about a social distancing, where we used to probably have about 40 plus passengers on a 50-seater coach, probably we would need to accommodate just about 25 passengers on that. So that means, there is a big amount of a cost element coming to it. So yes, it's very important that the government entities and other related entities need to work together to try and work the costs low. No, I am reflecting the same is because in the destinations as well, this is going to be even more difficult, and especially when we are talking about escorted tours or group tours. These two parameters are going to be definitely a big a challenge in terms of the cost elements. So I would see that there is going to be a more of a individual traveler, or kind of where there is a kind of a small close groups, or just about 3-4 or smaller families traveling together, just to ensure that to manage the social distancing, and then still keeping the flexibility, and also still trying to get the best of the experiences from the local destinations. So yes, the cost element is definitely going to be a challenge, because that will be very difficult for us to sell, because there are two. This is a double whammy, because the destination is going to be costing a bit higher than the normal. I mean, the new normal. But again, the cost of flight tickets are not going to be easier, because people are talking about, leaving empty seats in the middle rows. So that means the cost has to be recovered somewhere. So this is so overall the packaging is definitely going to be a bit of a challenge in terms of trying to keep the pricing. So from a holiday seller point of view, this is something that we have absolutely no idea about where this is all going to be there. And even when people are ready to travel, whether this is really going to make it affordable. Because, people, from coming back to your question, Rashi, for Bahrain, people have to travel out of the island, out of the kingdom. So that means, this is a big question. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of uncertainty here. Yes.
We'll quickly do this, Tricia, just a couple of lines on our niche topics. So spa and wellness travel, do you think this will be up or down in the next, say, 12 to 24 months?
Ooh, spa and wellness. In Britain or generally?
Generally.
Generally, sustainability, wellness, ecotourism. These are the kind of trends I see coming out. I don't know if it's spa specifically, but wellness, well-being, sort of zenning out, sort of detoxing. I think what this is, the world has quietened down a lot. When you think, living in Dubai, there's not so much air traffic overhead. You can hear the birds singing, the air's clearer, etc. And it kind of makes you realize what life might have been like when things were quieter and things didn't go so quickly. So me personally, I'm starting to think about, wow, that's quite nice. Maybe nature is a bit more appealing than I never thought before, to go deeper. And maybe it is climbing mountains. Maybe it is, bicycling holidays, sailing holidays, different sort of, I suppose I call them soft adventure holidays. Spa I would go to anytime, day or night. But I think that people are going to be a bit more, I hope, more concerned about the environment, about themselves, and about treasuring every moment.
It's kind of forced sustainable travel, right? Like the situation has forcibly made all of us go sustainable. Which trends do you think will pick up?
Yes, I totally agree with Tricia. I think sustainable travel will be on the list of the trends in the coming years. Traveling which is taking care of the nature, of the environment, of the people around you. And a bit in contrast, I also think what we will see is a renaissance of traveling by car, especially in Europe. In the own car, traveling in the own car is more safe than traveling by plane and so on. And now for this market, it's not really a renaissance, because Arabs always rented cars and were driving around. And I think also in Switzerland, they will do that in future. And we have excellent possibilities. We have the Grand Tour of Switzerland, where you can really use your own car and see the best of Switzerland in one route. And I think that's a great product for this. But in general, I agree, and we will come up as well in future with campaigns and also more products which will put the nature into center of attention, and the caring aspect and the sustainable aspect of traveling.
Great, thank you, Matthias. Dr. Lin.
Questionnaire just conducted today in Taiwan. There are 13,000 people answer, and they ask, after the pandemic, what are you going to do? And the number one, 30% people say, I want to go international travel. So that's good news for us. So, but the next question is, what kind of product are we going to offer? So to us, of course, like I say, tourism for here is more outdoor sort of adventure, like just Tricia and Kim, they also mentioned. But I personally a scuba diver. And my coach just called me, say, hey, I don't know why, but my business increased 15%. I say, what? He said, because right now, we don't have any social distance underwater. Okay.
That's a great idea.
So it's a great time for like surfing or to scuba diving. So this kind of activity will be probably the focus one that we should promote.
Dr. Khan, what do you think would be the new upcoming like trends in travel?
Well, I think I'm hearing to the other panelists. Yes, I really liked what he just said. There's no social distancing underwater. I think people will be looking for similar activities and similar trends. Again, talking about the surveys, you know, one of the surveys we have in place here, where it was conducted in March and in April as well. And people were asked that once the COVID is controlled, the pandemic is so-called over, when would you like to travel? 75% people said they will only wait, maximum wait will be 1 month. Within 30 days time, they are going to travel, right? Now, depending on the capacity to travel, their choice of travel, their comfortability of travel, as I said, short haul flights. And I would like to again highlight one very important point that Muzammil has just raised. People will take the direct flights and not indirect flights or connecting flights to avoid any kind of exposure. That also clarifies that, again, people will, you take a connecting flight when you are taking long haul or a far destination. So that tells you that people will prefer short haul destinations, for example. So recently we have Azerbaijan, we have Georgia, we have, of course, as I said, Azerbaijan in Baku. These destinations have picked up a lot. However, will people be comfortable going here? Do they have a confidence and trust that there are proper medical facilities in place, for example? People would ask for assurance in terms of safety and security. Another thing that will become very important is, I believe in certain parts of the world, the travel insurance is mandatory. In our part of the world, travel insurance is optional. And I think this is a very important factor, and it should become mandatory over here, which will give some kind of protection and confidence to the people. One more thing, there are different categories of people traveling, whether it is business or personal. There are families, there are categories of people. Now we are looking at another trend, and that is people are they charter business jets. They want privacy. A family of 5 or 10 or 15, you know, we have big families traveling around within GCC. So these people who just came in from different countries, they were stranded there, who are just planning to go out again. So we have inquiries in place where people are checking on taking a charter flight, a business jet, which can take them up to a destination which is about 8 hours. So business jet chartering business jets is becoming a trend, or will become a trend. I'm very sure of that, because we have huge number of inquiries on that. So that business will become a very, very important part of business for us as well.
Great. Muzammil, sorry. Can you tell us what would be the key trends from your perspective? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it goes back to people will want to start slowly. They want to experiment, but close to home, something they're comfortable with. So I really agree with Matthias about the cars, with Dr. Trust and Tricia about the wellness outdoor. I think it's about safety, security, and something that can get them. People have to be comfortable again until there's a real vaccine, and so we're going to require the entire industry to come together to figure to do that, which is the standard security checks, testing, whatever the whole process will be. That's going to make people comfortable.
Question. We have a lot of crews in the audience, people who operate cruises. So can you tell us what you feel about cruises?
I think for cruises, it's going to take a much longer time. You can't typically really social distance on a cruise. You're confined to a location. You have multiple stops in multiple cities. So until there's a full understanding of the whole regulation and control of the disease, I don't think the multi-city cruise model will come back. I think there might be private yachts, that type of model might come back early on. But actual multi-city cruises that we had before, I think there's been too many horror stories to around the world that people have noticed that bad. But the privacy, the private jets, private yachts, private resorts, people would like to look at that as well, I believe.
You also have someone who manages destination weddings. Any words for them?
Yeah, we were looking at destination weddings in fact, promoting Bahrain as a wedding destinations for the Indian diaspora from India. Bahrain has seen a large number of weddings, at least about 7-8 large weddings happening in Bahrain, especially from Indian market. So this is definitely going to be a very big setback in terms of the immediate future until of course, with the way that Bahrain has managed itself to contain. I'm sure we would be able to bring back the confidence into the minds of the organizers, as well as for Bahrain as a MICE destination itself from India. We had seen that as well. So far there's been some active inquiries still going on, and interestingly, just to tell you, just a couple of days back, I received some queries from Taiwan itself. Some visitors are planning to come to Bahrain. That's news for you, Dr. Lim. Okay. And then talking about cruises, I was talking to somebody from the cruise industry a couple of days back, and they did mention that cruises are definitely going to be opening up sometime late autumn. But then again, they are looking at very, very selective itineraries, and they still see Middle East per se. They see that it's still very potential, and then they say it's not very big impact. So there are plans for deployment of large cruise ships coming back to UAE and in the surroundings. But in Europe and southern Mediterranean and Northern Ireland, maybe they would skip United Kingdom for the time being, is what I hear and say. But then they would probably take off from exit from Hanover, or from one of those German ports, all towards the Scandinavian. So there are going to be some different kind of itineraries, probably with less calls, and with this social distancing, what Muzammil did mention, both on board the ship and as well as on the shore excursions as well. So yeah, I think still the cruise industry is looking very, very positive, and they are really working hard as an industry to bring back all those ships, and they're going to kind of spread out all the ships across the globe so that there is things are going to happen. So let's hope things are really looking good.
Addressing to Tricia Warwick, as of now, there is no support from the UK government to bail out British Airways. How would this affect the inbound travel to the UK? And to all the panelists, do they think it's important that governments support national carriers?
Listen, I think I was watching actually the number 10 briefing last night, and they were talking about airlines. And I used to work for British Airways, by the way, so close to my heart, before I came and lived and worked in the UAE. They're not saying no, actually. I was listening. I think what's happening is a lot of discussion going on amongst government and, all the tourism angles, really, the hoteliers, etc., but definitely BA, and we're talking to British Airways as well. If there were a need, what was said last night is government would be open to the discussion. So I don't think it's ruled out. It just hasn't come yet. Is that because it's not required yet? I'm not in possession of the facts, but definitely I don't think it's a no way. It's just let's have the discussion.
At the end of the last year, many destinations and businesses were really focused on climate change, so-called over-tourism and migration. With this acceleration of post-COVID and climate will fall off the agenda. Will sustainability be part of this G20 discussion in tourism in Riyadh in this November? That's from Benjamin Carey.
Would like to think so. I mean, Saudi, I don't know what we know about the agenda at G20. I mean, I was talking to some of the guys up at Diriyah Gate, Joey and Zarillo and his guys, and I listened on a webinar. And the G20 is a huge focus on tourism, of course, because of the host nation being Saudi. I'd be very surprised if sustainability and ecotourism wasn't on that agenda.
I mean, I think I agree. I think given the new and post the COVID, we talked about health and safety and wellness. I think sustainability will be part of that, because whatever we do now in the new types of tourism will be linked to ensuring the new, let's say, people are much more comfortable with it. And we know that we've seen a lot of the benefits of, let's say, no travel, in the sense that you've seen cleaner water, you've seen cleaner air, you've seen the pictures of India and from Los Angeles. Some countries like Switzerland might have great clean air all the time, but a lot of countries don't. So people will want to know how does travel impact that, and how can it positively impact it. People want to explore these quieter destinations, get in touch with nature. I think a lot of the countries will highlight those parts of their travel, not the big city and the big bustling lights all the time.
This is a question for Matt from Christine. What will Switzerland tourism do in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to promote Switzerland? And how can we in Switzerland support you?
Yeah, I mean, we're working hard on a recovery plan, and we'll partner up with a few of you who are present here. And I can't say a lot about it yet, but definitely working on a recovery plan, which we will heavily invest into the markets. The GCC are a very important market. And as I mentioned before, sustainability will play a big role. I think the topics, as mentioned before, go very well together. I think the corona problematic and the need of sustainable travel and nature, or closeness to the nature, this all goes very well together, and we will play on that, in that direction.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I saw one question on the panel, which was about, I think it was Abdulaziz. He was asking, he thinks it would be a good idea, wouldn't it, if destinations had some sort of mark, sort of some rubber stamp, some sort of, I'm calling it a kite mark in the UK, that sort of says, we are respecting all the right things, safe, secure, social distancing, sanitization, etc. And it is something that the UK, I'm sure other destinations start looking at as well, like a kite mark that you have to qualify for as an attraction, as a hotel, as an airline, whatever it may be. And so we're working on that now, because we recognize that we need to give that confidence to the traveler, business traveler, leisure traveler, whoever it is. And so it's how quickly you can get these things up and running, because it takes quite a lot of coordination. But I certainly think it's a great idea, and it's one that our government's already started looking at.
Oh, that's brilliant. Maybe Switzerland, would you consider the same thing?
I think if we have that, it would need to be internationally coordinated, so that we have it worldwide in a way implemented. I think this is rather difficult, but of course it would be nice to have it, and to make clear that traveling is safe and that visiting this place is safe. I mean, that will be a huge benefit. And but I doubt a bit that it is possible to implement that. In a short time, and also to have in a way a regulation which is really covering more than just one country or one place. Yeah.
Because it's the same question I was asked a couple of days ago, mentioned about if it's possible, like a COVID-19 free hotel or some mark or certificate. But my answer to them is actually COVID-19 free hotel is a basic requirement before you are doing business. So I just say we probably don't have that kind of signage before the hotel, but we will do the international promotion
and mentioning about the COVID-19 free travel environment, something like that.
So there's a question by Ms. Sophia Santos, and she says, in a world full of social distancing and sustainability, do you think businesses based on volume, for instance, low-cost carriers, are going to die? So Mr. Khan, would you like to add anything? Mr. Menon, you already mentioned the challenges of costing. So maybe Mr. Khan or anyone on the panel. It's a very interesting question. Businesses based on volume, are they going to die?
I don't think, if I would like to just add here, and Matthias can also add, I personally don't think this business is going to die. Let me just share with you, Wizz Air in Abu Dhabi is already being established, and they are going to start the lowest possible fares to European countries. We just spoke about two things. There are, like, as Matthias also mentioned, we won't be able to, Nabuda Travel, we represent about 12 or 11 major airlines in the world, so we work very closely with them. We are the GSA for so many airlines. So what we understand is that the cost of operations will be much higher. We will not discuss the fuel pricing here. We're just talking about the other operational costs, where you won't be able to use the full capacity of the aircraft. So per seat pricing will go up for legacy carriers. Same thing will happen to the low-cost carriers. However, the low-cost carriers have the capacity to offer you lower fares with the social distancing required on board. So I don't think LCC carriers will die. Probably it's the other way around. They might be taking a higher market share than ever before.
Thank you so much, panelists and participants. Thank you everyone for being here. And
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for organizing.
Thank you. Karen, stay safe.
Looking forward to meet you all and discuss sometime very soon.
That would be lovely.
Let's hope.
Good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.